So this is a review for Chapter 12 tests. The first 7 questions are on a map. The map is on page 226. Look that over. And then there are a total of 33 points. So about 26 multiple choice questions. So the first thing here, why was Canada an important battleground in the War of 1812? And it's because the British forces were weakest there. The British forces were weakest in Canada. The battle that inspired the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner was the British attack on Fort Mchenry. The most devastating defeat suffered by the British during the War of 1812 took place at the Battle of New Orleans, but this is somewhat ironic because technically it was after the Treaty of Ghent had already been signed. Who was the American general at the Battle of New Orleans? This is Andrew Jackson. Why was the victory of New Orleans so important? It unleashed a wave of nationalism and self-confidence. A whole bunch of pride after the Battle of New Orleans. Militarily, it was not that important because technically the war was already over. What were some of the adopted resolutions at the Hartford Convention? Okay, and remember that the Hartford Convention adopted certain things, but that doesn't mean that they were actually enacted. And one of them was trying to put a congressional amendment into the Constitution requiring 2/3 vote in Congress before a war is declared. Of course, that doesn't happen, but that's one of the things they suggested. They also suggested no consecutive, a president should not come from the same state in consecutive terms, and you should only have a 4-year term, not 2 terms. Those are some of the things that were adopted as resolutions at the Hartford Convention. What did the Rush-Bagot Agreement provide for? Limited the naval armaments on the Great Lakes. It eliminates or limited the naval armaments on the Great Lakes. Washington Irving, nationally recognized American author of the 1820s. The Tariff of 1816 aimed to protect American industry. New England opposed federally constructed roads because they felt like the roads would drain away the needed population for the factories, and the population would head out to the west. So New England was opposed to federally constructed roads because they thought it would hurt the northeast population. Why was the era of good feelings a misnomer? It was actually a fairly troubled period of time. Now, it's called this era of good feelings because of the 3 consecutive presidents of Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, all serving 2 terms each, and relatively smooth elections. But it's kind of a misnomer because it was a period of troubling times. Let's see, what was the major cause of the Panic of 1819? And there's a over-speculation in frontier lands causes this panic. Financial panic. There's a financial kind of recession because of over-speculation. So speculation is you go out and you purchase land, not with the intent of keeping it. You purchase it with the intent of then selling it at a higher price. But the prices then tended to drop, in fact. So people lost money. What was the first state carved out of Louisiana west of the Mississippi? And this is Missouri, leading to the Missouri Compromise. And then we've talked a lot about the Missouri Compromise, but this is dividing the country at the 36-30 and a North and a South, admitting Maine as a free state but Missouri as a slave state, keeping the legislative balance in the Senate between free and slave states. Couple questions here then about the Marshall's Court, John Marshall, and John Marshall's interpretation of the Constitution was one in which it would strengthen the national government. Therefore, he was a strong believer in the necessary and proper clause. So he loosely interpreted the Constitution, a loose constructionist. The McCullough versus Maryland case, the power to tax involves the power to destroy. Therefore, the states cannot tax the federal government. And who was the United States' most successful diplomat during this era of good feelings? It's John Quincy Adams, John Adams' son. And why did Spain sell Florida to the United States? That's kind of at the end of your chapter. But Spain sold Florida because Spain knew it couldn't defend Florida, and that if they didn't sell it to the United States, we'd probably just take it. The Monroe Doctrine was a response then to apparent designs of the Russians to take Alaska and Oregon. And so we make this proclamation trying to get in front of the Russians' claim on Northwest Territory of Oregon. So that pretty much concludes the review for Chapter 12. At the end of your chapter, there's probably 3 questions about Monroe Doctrine, and again, a couple of questions about John Marshall's Court, a couple questions about Missouri Compromise, but otherwise, that's pretty much the test.